Garley is like the mature, not even, I can't even put him. He's the OG composer.
My least favorite of the top four. And Sarli, everybody jumped on the floor.
I'm going to send you a nice variety of Garley tandas so you can have them ready.
But Canaro.
No.
D'Arienzo.
You like Garley, and also you happen to like Canaro. There's no buts. So Melody, we've talked a lot before in the past about, what we love about tango, what makes the milongas and the marathons and the festivals great, and how to prepare. But I think all of this was all around, why people might say yes or no. And a lot of it was riding on the music and the experience that you have in the milongas.
Yes.
So I think it might be great to take a moment and just touch on what happens when the DJ gets it right, when you've got the right music playing at the right time with a great ambiance. What does that look like, and why maybe that might be happening, and when it's not so great
to get there,
what it takes to get there, and maybe when it's not so great, what might be happening, and maybe just give some advice for those listening who might be in a milonga. This might be why you might be experiencing certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I guess let's start with what should the DJs be playing throughout the night? Or, well, let's maybe not say should, but let's say like...
Should. We can say should.
Well, and this is going to vary because it depends on your milonga, right? I started dancing when alternative was a big thing. So there were alternative milongas and traditional milongas. And now we're in the space where we've kind of shifted mostly back to traditional with a sprinkle of alternative. Right? Yeah. Okay, so what should DJs be playing?
I think regardless of whether it's a daytime, afternoon, a local milonga, a farathon.
Okay, we're inventing new genres
between. You have to play from the top four at least once an hour.
Yes.
The top four orchestras. You're talking about Juan D'Arienzo. You're talking about El Señor Di Sarli. You're talking about Troilo. You're talking about Pugliese. At least once an hour. And the thing about these four orchestras is there's enough variety of each that you could probably even play, honestly, a whole night with just the four of them.
Yeah, you absolutely could.
But they have the most amounts, the higher volume of good music, the higher quantity of good music, and they have enough variation in them, right? D'Arienzo he's not called the king of the beat or the king of the rhythm for no reason, right? And so with D'Arienzo's music, it's usually much more upbeat, right? Usually you have like marcato and four, and so the music feels like dancing.
Yes.
And with his music, it kind of changed the landscape a bit when he came into the scene because he really focused on the dancing experience. Yeah. And so his music is usually much more lively, maybe a little bit more faster pace. But it's like you need to have your D'Arienzo, and your D'Arienzo likes for sure playing for a good time, for a good measure of time. And then you have I think the second one I said was Di Sarli, right? And that's Di Sarli is like the mature, not even, I can't even put him. He's the OG composer.
My least favorite of the top four.
No. Take that back. Okay, we're gonna change your mindset. Maybe not right now, but I don't know if I can have this conversation with you. But you know what? That's okay. Di Sarli maybe is not. No, Di Sarli's for everyone. I don't know what you're saying.
No, it's fine. I don't mind to dance to Di Sarli. It's just my least favorite of the four. I think for me, like, it's what teachers often play in classes. So you end up like, it feels like you're in a class. It's like the
that is an excellent point you make.
Like
a lot of
like,
yes. Okay. Yeah. To that effect, I respect that. I respect that. What ends up happening is Di Sarli is slower and has a very obvious beat, and it's typically maybe in the later Di Sarli's instrumentals is typically what you'll hear in the beginner classes. Yeah. And because of that, people shy away from playing it in the milongas. But those are some of the richest songs to really dive into. It encourages, there's a lot of drag in the sound, and so it encourages a lot of quality in your movement. And actually you shouldn't really be dancing too much to that kind of music. That's not the music for the quick that boleo kick, like quick moves. That's the music for like the molasses movements. And that's the type of music for the embrace and for holding things and for taking your time and doing little but squeezing out the most of it. There is earlier Disarli with singers. That's like you've heard a lot of them, like Shusheta, Catamarca. It's much faster, much more, and so that also can be, it's kind of dirtier, I would say, like cha 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 cha. But either way, you want to have that variation. For me, sometimes I think the last time I DJ'd, I started with Disarli and I ended with Disarli because to me it's so important that like this orchestra. And then you have Troilo, which is like much more complex music. Right? You probably may not hear it as much in maybe more beginner or practica type settings. But aside from like his very poppy sounding songs that are very energetic, like, and this is all about how they arrange the music, how many different things that they put, how many different like melodies you might be hearing at the same time, how many orchestras, which orchestras are playing which instruments are playing which parts of the song. Very rich with beautiful singer Fiorentino, right? So Troilo is like a little bit more advanced, but when you can tap into that, it's great. And without Troilo in the night, it's like you lose something in the night. And Pugliese, I know typically we wait until after midnights to hear Pugliese, but there's enough variety of Pugliese to play.
There are some like lighter pieces.
There's like the earlier instrumentals, right? And then you can have the very heavy, dramatic sound. So I think with these 4 top orchestras, you get enough range, you get good quality music, and you have enough variation from when they first started to later in their playing career that you can play 2-3 of these tandas per orchestra in the whole night, for instance.
Okay, but I have to throw one in there, and I know that we disagree about this.
Not Rodriguez. Canaro?
No, Canaro. Canaro is my favorite. It's my favorite. I just like, there's this like heaviness to the rhythm, but then usually there's this violin that just makes you stop for a moment, and it's a beautiful contrast within the song, or OTV. I'll
not the same. OTV, I'm down for OTV.
For both for me. Both for me.
I love OTV now. Before it used to be like the first tanda that I would play and get it out of the way.
Really?
And now I'm like, oh no. I want this later on, actually, when you're ready to really sink and bite your teeth into it. I think Canaro gets a bad rep because
the history there.
There's history there. He basically was like a machine, just like outputting high volume of songs.
And there are so many like of them not quality songs
that are good quality, right? Or sometimes it can get very repetitive. We actually, I just took a DJ class on this, and we literally listened. Actually, Poema now, I don't think I can ever enjoy Poema, unfortunately. I just realized how incredibly repetitive that song is. And in Invierno, they had such great success with it because of the melody. But it's like the exact same melody over. They don't do anything different with it from one phrase to the next phrase. And they actually copied a similar sound for Invierno as well. But I don't get me wrong, I enjoy that heaviness as well. But to your point, right? Like, if the DJ is not balancing that, if you get too much of this heavy feeling all night, you're gonna feel a bit depressed. You're not gonna want to dance as much. But also too, if you get like a lot of the high energy all the time, it's like too much.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. And so like being able to get a nice variety, so you also hit on what different people might want to dance, right? What I like as a dancer isn't always my first priority to play necessarily. Okay, typically I want to play the music that I enjoy. That's why someone would hire me to DJ. But my priority is the people in the room and what they really want. And so I try to figure out this group of people. Are they maybe a slightly more super traditional crowd? Are they a crowd that really actually like extra alternatives, right? And so you kind of gauge that and try to. The way how I compensate is I don't like too much playing alternative music, but I may play cortinas and extend them if people want to dance to them. That's like a way I kind of get around.
Yeah. See, I aside from like, it's a very short list of alternative music. I want a traditional milonga. I want golden era music.
Yes.
I do feel like even these covers of newer orchestras, it's something about the sound, the transfer. The violin never has the same depth. even the bandoneon sounds different. Like it's just not the same. So maybe we're playing a newer cover and I'm just like, I don't want to dance. It could be a song I love, but to me, the violin sounds like it's screeching and I'm just like, I don't want to dance to it, you know? So I give me Golden Era all night long. Yeah. With teensy tiny exceptions. And please, can we stop playing alternative Milonga sets? I feel like I
Let's
know.
put a pin on this. Let's come back to this.
I'm just gonna say, I feel like I know when a DJ does not like dancing Milonga,
They just do
every set they play alternative, and I'm
there's
like,
so much
there
good
are
quality.
so many good quality Milongas and a variety of like lighter and heavier and like fast and slow. Like, give us some Milonga.
My issue is when the DJ always uses Milonga to play. They always pick the fastest Milonga.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, like Milonga is about grooving. It's not about moving faster per se.
But sometimes I think Milonga is one where you can build a tanda and
that gets progressively faster.
Yes,
that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But like sometimes I'll even lower the BPM of the song so I can hear more of like that doom ba doom ba doom sound in it. Because sometimes it's just so fast and it's like I'm just like what's the point?
Yeah. Well, and I think like I think that Milonga is a little bit harder for people to dance to, right? It's a little bit more challenging. And so I think sometimes DJs shy away from playing traditional Milonga all night long because they think people won't dance.
Yeah.
And I was having a really interesting conversation about this with another DJ. I was showing them my set list and she was like, oh, well, I remarked, I was like, well, this set I thought people would for sure dance to. It was a Milonga set and they didn't. And she was like, well, that first Milonga is more difficult. If you'd swapped it, you would have gotten them on the floor with an easier one. So like thinking about that when choosing the music is really interesting. Yeah.
So you definitely want the top orchestras. They have a lot of the music that people also know. There's several different tiers of orchestras, right? Like Biaggi, Carlo, D'Agostino, right? We're not even touching on all of them, but I think it's better to err on the side of playing music that people know and are familiar with.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you have so many other factors going on. The music shouldn't be something that's like, what is this? What am I supposed to do to this? You know, it should flow into your body because you're not sitting there thinking about, okay, what's next? Okay, now I'm gonna. It's okay to challenge people and throw in something once, maybe in the nights. But I think it's okay to err on the side of playing the music that people already know, they already love.
Yeah.
And I know it's a conundrum for DJs because we feel like, oh, we're just playing the same songs over and over. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know any dancer that's complained about hearing the same songs.
It's the worst when you show up and you can tell that like the DJ is tired of the standard repertoire. So they're like, oh, I found this thing and I'm gonna. It's like, no, we want to dance to music we know and we love, and maybe a little tiny sprinkle.
Tiny sprinkle, yeah.
But there was a night that we were sitting there all night long and I was with my phone, what orchestra is this? What song is this? What song is this? And it wasn't enjoyable. It was, I think the other thing you touched on, like the energy level, right? Is that
before we go up to the energy, part of that is like, I think the more you DJ, the more you get to be familiar with the music, the more intelligent you become about the music. So you start making choices based on intellect. Like, ooh, this orchestra also made these songs. This is intellectually interesting. Let's plug that in. As a dancer, we don't care what is intellectually interesting.
No.
We want to know what feels good in the body, what has good rhythm. What has good melody, that even if I don't know the melody, maybe I can. It's easy to follow the melody. You want there to be something that people can recognize and run with. And it needs to be just rhythmic enough as well, because that's some of like the challenges with more modern music or maybe more later music. It's very melodic. Melodic music is much more complex. You have to interpret in more nuanced ways, whereas rhythmic music, you can just kind of move to many different variations of the rhythm.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, actually so I made this observation a while ago that, you know, when we were dancing a lot of alternative and we were dancing to like pop music or, you know, it was songs that were not very complex. And I think that actually this is why like this nuevo style of dancing that is like so open and complex and bachata all over the place. I think that's part of why the dance is so complex, because the music isn't. It's not about the music. It's about the physicality of the dance. Where when you have this beautifully complex music and you have 1,000 different ways you could dance this one song because there are so many layers, I think then intrinsically, like, our dance can be more simple because we're present and we're savoring the music instead.
And that's more rich.
Yes, yeah.
Partner.
Which I like both. I like both. I don't mind dancing alternative in an alternative setting, knowing I'm going into that setting. But if I think I'm showing up for a traditional Milonga, there's expectations.
And so even if we don't talk about alternative, right? There's like the step, the next less crazy thing is the more modern orchestra.
Yes, yes.
But even that, you have
even
to be
that,
careful. And I have a bit of a mixed feeling on this because I want to continue to support the newer tango orchestras.
Yeah.
I love that they're continuing to make music. I love sometimes when they do different renditions of earlier songs.
Yeah.
It doesn't always mean that it's something that we can and or should dance to.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, especially like my sort of like test is if the original version is just so good, I can't play. Even if I like the modern version, I must stick to the original or whatever other version that I know is really the best. And part of that is like starting to understand, well, what makes the song really great? Is it that particular moment of variation in that particular piece? Is it how they slow up or accelerate certain parts? Is it how they arrange the melodies a little bit different than if we're hearing the modern version, right? Which is, like tango music has evolved over time. It went from being very simplistic to quite interesting during the golden period, right? And then a lot more complex as time goes on. And I think it's just getting more and more complex in that way. And musically it's great, but from the dancing perspective.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit much. Yeah, I agree. Well, and I feel like a lot of modern orchestras, a lot of it is about just maintaining this like
high energy, big sound, which is nice for like a drop.
Sure.
Right? Like La Juan D'Arienzo, I dropped them in there once, twice, maybe once, only once. Apologies. Only one time. It's great, they've got, and I think they've really embodied, I feel like they've embodied the sense of
D'Arienzo. But like, we don't like sparingly.
It can be tricky because it sounds nice to hear, and what ends up happening sometimes is you're in the Milonga and you hear a lot of modern orchestras back to back to back. That actually starts to wear on your physical being. Firstly, more than likely that music is going to be grand sounding. And so it's like, what were we saying earlier? Noise.
Overwhelm. It's like auditory overwhelm.
Auditory overload, right? And a lot of times the beat will be deeper.
Yeah.
Zoom. Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom. This is like it's not something you can maintain for a long period of time. You need that pop-like type vibe as well to complement.
But by the way, for the uninitiated, can you distinguish between a modern orchestra versus, like, is there a time period that you would be considered like this is modern versus
like 2000s? I mean, an orchestra that's still alive today.
Okay. Yeah.
An orchestra that's still alive today that's playing.
Although there are some like that are like after the 60s and also there's like modern orchestras and there's also this like electro tango.
Yeah.
Which was a big trend and now like is tiny. Well, I'm actually even thinking of John, when you started dancing, this was really popular. The songs, there's a video of Chicho dancing with somebody else. I can hear it in my head. I can hear the song.
Oh, are you talking about like Sur or No Sur or something like that?
No. The video, Chicho's dancing with a lady in a purple dress.
Oh, with that like really like eerie piano melody. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What's the name of that band?
I have no idea. I'll put it in there.
Baja Fondo or something.
Is that Baja Fondo? Or is it a Gotan project maybe?
Or Gotan project.
Gotan, yeah.
That's different. That's like
yeah.
I think modern. I mean, I don't know the official definition, but I know that there's like you have your Guardia Vieja period, right? Which is like before it ends like 20s to late 20s to like mid 30s, and then by mid 30s to 40s you're starting to like, or late 30s to 40s you're in like your golden age period. The music's in the 50s and the 60s, which is so beautiful at times. I wouldn't consider that modern either. It's just I just call them late,
Yeah,
the late orchestras or the late versions of of an orchestra. 70s, 80s, I think that's more like you're getting more to like performance-y type,
like
scenario Piazzolla type music. So it's not modern either. It's just different tango music, just very
different.
late.
Well, and like Piazzolla is like the same kind of pattern that just continues to build, right? And so like again, I've seen people dance to it. It's not really made for dancing though. It's like
it can be for like a very theatrical performance, right?
Yes.
Stage performance or something, but definitely not in the Milonga.
Yeah, no.
And then so I think honestly, when you start talking like early 2000s, that's when
well, and the 2000s though is like when we were like, oh, we can dance tango to anything, right? So it wasn't even tango music. It was like,
but when we say modern now, I think we mean like the orchestras from like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Romantica,
yeah. And they're covering
Banda Negro. Like they do both. They cover and they have some newer songs as well. Yeah. So
I tend to shy away from all of them.
And again, right, it's about knowing the crowd. There's some festivals that I go to that I know in that local community, people typically enjoy dancing to these other songs. So, but I know that there's people coming in that also prefer traditional. So like throw in maybe one thought. It's okay to be the traditional DJ of the weekend, right? Throw in the one, maybe one alternative.
Yeah.
Maybe or modern. Maybe you leverage your cortinas for that. Again, sometimes some organizers will ask you, can you just play actually more alternative music? Because that's just what I want. That's a different story, right? Like you're playing to that vibe that they're trying to create. But to your point about how the music ebbs and flows, so like assuming you're playing the right set of music, the ordering that you put them in makes a big difference.
Yes.
Right. From a dancing perspective, do you notice that all the highs and lows of the throughout the night?
So there was actually a Milonga I went to where the energy was never high, never low. It was in the middle the whole time.
That's
not
tough.
only that, but it was like there's a set of tango music that feels hollow, right? We don't ever get like that D'Arienzo, like and we don't get Canaro with the heaviness or the Pugliese with the and so until the very end of the night, it was all hollow. And I actually wanted to leave. Like it was we were an hour and a half in and I was like, maybe we should just go. Like I don't want to dance.
And if people are asking you to dance, maybe you want to dance with them, but you're like, I cannot.
Yeah, I turned somebody down and it was somebody I would normally love to dance with. And I was like, I'm sorry.
This is going to be painful to.
Yeah, I'm just really not enjoying this.
Yeah.
So yes, so an ebb and flow. And when I'm putting together a set, I put it together ahead of time because I can't go on the fly yet, right? If it's structured, I can swap out a tanda, but I have to build it. And as I'm building it, I'm like, okay, I know this is going to be around 9 o'clock. I know this is going to be around 10 o'clock. And I
think about who's entering the space,
who's
at
entering,
each hour.
yes, how people are going to be feeling. Or if I'm like, oh, I just played a fast ball set. Okay, I know I need to give people a break, right? I got to change. So
and also too, in addition to speed, there's complexity.
Yes.
So if you're playing a lot of complex music, like mentally, the leaders will become drained fast, so they're not going to be dancing as much. But if you play too simple music, people get bored. So you need to vary the speed, the complexity, the time period. Use the whole range of mid 30s to 50s throughout, like a whole night to create the variation.
There's so much that goes into it.
There's so much that goes into it. And it's, for the most part, as long as you're mindful of that, you'll achieve it, even if it's a little bit. I know for me, I still try to figure out the best way to transition between. But just having that mindset is good. Like, too much of one thing is always going to not be good.
Yeah.
So I remember I was in a Milonga where I could literally hear people say, I'm so tired. I don't know why I'm so tired. And they didn't realize it's because all the music we were hearing was like the same heavy beats of music. Like it's like you literally pounding on someone's chest or their head with it. So there's that. There's also maybe like obscure music, like maybe sometimes we try to bring variety, but we bring the wrong type of variety. And it's like you said before with the phone, like, what is this? If people are if my best guess is look around, whether you're DJing or you're in the room, look at how long it takes people to get on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because maybe they're talking, socializing, and conversating? Sure.
Yeah.
But is it because people are like a bit hesitant?
Mm-hmm.
If a song comes on, people like it, immediately you'll see the leaders perk up.
Yeah, they're like, ooh, I gotta get
yeah. So you see them actively trying to get on the dance floor. If it takes more than 15 to 20 seconds, you're like, I'm not gonna play that one again.
When I was DJing last, I was like writing down a list, and I would have the orchestra, what time it was that it started, and then I would put a happy face or a frowny face. I'm like, oh yeah, they love this one, they didn't love this one, they love this one, they didn't love this.
Take notes while you're going along. Yeah.
And Disarli, everybody jumped on the floor.
I'm gonna send you a nice variety of Disarli tandas so you can have them ready to plug in.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, okay. I think I know the other part of it is that like I downloaded a ton of tango music when I first started dancing, and then I had this list that I just listened to, and there were certain songs that I would it would play and I would restart it, like Tierra Querida. I love that song, Cascabelito. Like if there's a singer that is like makes me stop breathing, I want to play it multiple times, and there just wasn't a lot of Disarli on that list. Is the other piece of it too. You
just gotta expand the exposure.
So yeah,
you love Disarli. You just don't know it yet.
I like Disarli, but Canaro.
No.
D'Arienzo.
You like Disarli, and also you happen to like Canaro. There's no buts.
Yes, there's well, there's just this like there's a beautiful like mix of sweetness and tango that I for me Canaro kind of
fits that.
Yeah. And I see what you're saying about like repetitiveness, but I also think Canaro is where you get really fun, playful things like that.
Okay,
right?
So yes. However, like Troilo, Disarli, D'Arienzo, they have syncopations, and so you get more of like the ra ta 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 ra ta. Canaro will be like da 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 da.
Yeah, but I enjoy that. I think
which is great too.
Gives you space to do some fun stuff, and it's rare that people actually play it.
Yeah.
Or like Mimosa has some funky things. Like I enjoy it.
I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it too in the side.
I know some places I'd get banned. They're like, we don't play Canaro here.
But I think sometimes just as important as the orchestras that you choose in the order that you choose them in, this drives me crazy, Melody. Cortinas.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think sometimes people realize how much the cortina is adding to the environment.
Especially in evening Milonga. Like, you can bring that energy.
People don't, sometimes DJs don't realize that it's like, and this, I learned this interestingly through trial and error. I think in the beginning, when I definitely knew a lot less than I know now, I would just play things, but I always had a variety in my cortina. I always played the cortina to bring the energy out. And people would be like, oh my God, I love your music. And then I turn around and all like the senior DJs would be like, that was horrible. I wouldn't play X, Y, or Z. And I would be like, okay, I guess intellectually it wasn't good. But yet people enjoyed themselves. And I started to realize it's the cortinas. Like, and I know it sounds bad. I think sometimes when people say they love my music, I think they just love the cortinas. But they really can make or break the night. Yeah. You know, and I think about it as like, maybe I think about it thematically. I have like my 80s, 70s, 60s music. If I know that crowd, do I want to, because the cortinas is when you interact with people off the dance floor. Maybe I play a song that's very catchy, very nostalgic, that people know how to sing, and now you might turn to the person next to you that you wouldn't normally talk to, and you're both singing along and bopping ahead. Now you make that connection.
Yeah,
right?
You can craft the energy.
You craft the energy with it. You throw in a salsa or two sometimes, and you get all the other dancers in the room who do other dances. Yeah, maybe they've been sitting out for a bit longer. They get their moment to shine. Yeah, you get to see them. Maybe now that's a new connection. Yeah, you make with somebody. You know, for people to not, I put as much effort into building my tandas, me personally, as I do with my cortinas.
Yeah, no, I agree. I even combed through Apple Music the last time I DJ'd to find those pieces. I was like, this is evening. Like, I wanted a specific feeling to the evening. So, like, I found some really fun electronica songs. And ironically, like, one is one my 8-year-old listens to that she puts on. And I was like, oh, this would be a really good cortina, right? I love it. So, and that I actually got compliments afterwards that were like, oh, you should DJ. I was like, I just did DJ. doing it.
I think like, so like cortinas can definitely like create energy,
And suck
but
it.
it's also a very nice way to clean up after a tanda.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you end the tanda, you know that last couple of seconds of the tanda is really intense. Everybody's going to be in the mood. And then the cortina you choose next will be how people will remember that tanda. Do you continue with this like melodramatic sound so people have some time to recover and reminisce on what a great thing that was, and then change to something else, right? Sometimes people, they create this beautiful tanda and then the cortina is so jarring that you're like,
it's like I just jumped out of it.
right, you know, or sometimes you need to build into something, right? And so you want to create that anticipation, so you play something like Footloose, let's say, right? People are like, yes, I'm vibing, and then you play something very energetic after that. People are ready to hop on. So also it helps, and the thing too is like when you first start DJing, it's like, or at least a lot of people will say, okay, 30 seconds, I'm done, cut my cortina. It's like, no, the cortina is the break. It's however long the room needs. Maybe it needs to go a little bit longer because people are talking more, because the room is hotter. You need to give people more time to cool off. Maybe there's people dancing on the dance floor. Like some people have very like hard set rules that then create this rigidity that doesn't really make sense.
I watch the floor. I'm like, okay, give time people actually time to
Clear
get off
the
the floor,
floor.
to actually get off the floor.
Look around because they might know what song might be coming next. Prepare themselves. If it's too short, it's.
But I didn't realize something when I started DJing, and we had our first Sabrazo, and I was like, oh, you know, people are gonna leave me alone. I'm gonna be DJing, and the speaker was kind of like off the floor but near me, and then everybody. They were in front of the speaker talking very, very loudly. And the volume of it, like, it got really, really loud because people were talking over the music, but then the music had to be a little louder so people would hear it. And then it was just never ending. What I realized I was missing was, one, the speaker closer to the dance floor so that people behind it can lower their voices.
So
but
they can actually hear each
two,
other.
the power of a pause, like actually silence. And after that, I was like, how do we maintain, like, I can't be in a space this loud all the time. It's exhausting. No, you need a break. You need a break between your cortina and the next set. Like, there needs to be a little silence, because then everybody who's talking really, really loudly suddenly lowers their voice, right? And it brings just the volume down so it's a manageable.
Or you start to fade out the cortina music so that there's some lower sound before the next thing comes up. And to that point, actually, too, sometimes it's nice when the DJs intentionally will bring the music down in the tanda. And I know some people get mad. They're like, oh, I can't hear. It's like, no, that's intentional, because I'm trying to bring something down so I can come back up later. I think it's okay. It doesn't always have to be at this volume.
The only time that it upsets me is the Milonga tandas. The Milonga tandas, because, you know, DJ will play something, not as many people are dancing, so people are speaking loudly. And then you actually, the whole set, you just can't hear the whole set. And it depends on the space and like where the speakers are, of course. But like, I love Milonga. So I wait for Milonga all night long. And then when it gets like you can't even hear the music, or the music sucks, or it's alternative, then it's like,
you know, now that I know this, whenever I DJ and I know you're in the room, I'm like, oh, I gotta bring my. I like bringing my Milonga game, but now I'm like, oh, I definitely can't. Like, I need to be careful because Melody's here, so I need to make sure.
I might be judging.
I know this is. Well, no, I'm like, I know this is what you love.
It is,
and so if I can do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's what I wait for. If John's there, I should say. If John's there, it's what I wait for, because he's my favorite person to dance with.
And the volume, right? Like, I think you were talking about raising and lowering the volume, making sure it's loud enough when it needs to be loud enough. And the quality of the music, the quality of the speakers, all of those things can also play into the experience that you have.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
DJs put a lot of effort and thought into this.
I feel bad when I'm in a space and it's clear that there's not as much control over the sound system. Because, like, we've been in Milongas, we've all been there, where we're just like, it's not even that the music is bad, but the quality of the music is so bad, or it's like just so loud that like 2 hours in you're like, I can't take this anymore. It's overwhelming. So and here we try to control it. Like, we bought a specific speaker for this specific place. We want a second one eventually. When budget allows, we'll get there, right? But yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
There's one more thing too. You had mentioned like people were coming up to you when you were DJing,
Oh yeah.
and I might make some people think twice now, but there's this phenomena that happens, slightly different from talking about the vibe of the night. But for some reason, when the DJ is in this spot and they're accessible, you can see them. There's something strange that happens every single time. If I walk into the Milonga as a attendee, if I see people, if I'm near them, we'll hug each other, we'll say hi. If I'm further away, we'll wave and say hi, move on. But if I'm DJing, and I know it's just not just me because I've spoken to other DJs about this, there's this weird phenomenon where people will jump through hoops to arrive to where you're standing. And I mean like tripping, like coming onto the stage, tripping over I've seen people trip over cords. I'm like, no, it's okay. You didn't have to, and it's like just to come to say hi. And then usually they'll try to reach into hug. And it's like, you're wired up, you're sitting, you're in your thing. Now you have to stand up. And I'm like, why do people do this? Like, if you see the DJ, they're working too. Like, wave and move on. Like, I don't think we need to come to say hi so that they know that you see them and you say hi. Like, it's too much.
Yeah, and they're focused. They're working.
Yeah,
like,
and sometimes I'm like in the middle of thinking about, because I DJ on the fly probably way too much. The other day someone was like, what's coming next? And I'm like, I'm working on that. and it's like, just there are moments where you're ready to engage and you'll be more open and maybe you're talking to someone, but otherwise, I think it's okay to just.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe sometimes we feel bad because the DJ looks like they're sitting there all alone, but like, no, they're focused. Like, they're focused. Yeah.
If they want, they can get up and walk around.
Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about like that, creating the energy, the ambiance of the space,
finding the right. Pick the music that people know. Pick from the top 4, and then the top 10, and then the top 15 maybe, if you even have enough to get through the night. I mean, if you even need, because you run out of songs quite quickly.
Yeah.
You run out of time quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
And so from like the attendee perspective, if you're feeling low energy, listen. Is it because the music is is it the same? Right? Is it strong, heavy beats, or is it light? Is it a nice mixture? And old versus more modern music. Be mindful unless you really enjoy something. Sometimes don't say it to the DJ, because you may tell that DJ that you really like that song, but the rest of the room hated that song. Yeah. And now the DJ will be like, oh great, I'm gonna go play it again.
Yeah, there's a Milonga set that I really love that nobody's gonna get on the dance floor to dance. And one time a DJ played that set because he knew that I liked it, and nobody danced it because it's like more challenging. It's much more challenging. I'll play it for you. Yeah.
And leverage the cortinas.
Yeah.
And this is what makes or breaks the night sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as an attendee, we just want to have a good time. We just go into the space. We're not really thinking about it until it's
bad.
off. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. John, anything you want to add there?
So I'm not a DJ, so it's interesting to hear you guys' perspective on it. I do know that there are times when I'm DJing, way back when, it was sort of out of necessity that if we wanted to have a community, someone needed to play music, and it was very much like, I'm just gonna play what I can.
Engineer, he can press play.
Yeah, exactly. I can
from your phone, right?
Right, and there were times when I had like I was on an iPod with like the scroll wheel and that one button. And then I'm like,
oh, that's right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dating yourself, babe.
Yeah, no, it was like I had that scroll wheel and the button, and I was like creating the playlist on the fly with those 2 buttons, and like praying that I'm not gonna mess up and click something wrong. So yeah, like my experience has always been, just kind of play what I have, but no, having dance that much more now, like it's and understanding the variety. I do enjoy all the regional differences in DJing. So I mean, I'm from upstate New York, and when I get an upstate New York DJ, I'm like, that's some upstate New York tango, and I recognize it, and it's not some DC tango. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So but like, and people get really animated about different things. So it's a big world. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to talk more, I think, about DJing and preferences for DJs, because I definitely have some favorites.
Oh.
Yeah. And I like when you know kind of what a DJ leans toward, it's a little bit of predictability. Yeah. So maybe we'll talk in the future about preferences for DJs. And I like how they have different voices and going to a space where it's predictable and we might not going to know the exact music,
right?
But we know we're going to have
The
a certain
vibe.
feeling and a vibe to that music. Yeah, to that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Well, and I want to hear.
Are we going to get any guests on here anytime soon?
We are. We have a guest coming up. Should we should keep it under wraps.
Under wraps? Okay, fine.
It should be a surprise.
It's going to be a pretty hot topic.
Yes.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Our very first guest.
Yay. Let's cheers to that.
Speaking of New York, this is one of my favorite rice pudding store in New York. I'm obsessed with rice pudding.
Wait,
I feel like I'm just advertising for
there's
all
a
these different
rice
brands.
pudding store?
It's amazing. I have to tell you after this.
Yeah. All right.
Rice to riches.
Rice to riches.
Sorry. Sorry. It was like when I was eating the prosciutto pear sandwich earlier.
Oh, yeah. All right. John would love it. All right. Well,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. We'll see him on the next one. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Staying Grounded. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and spread the word. We'll catch you next time.